from old business they'd like to bring before us? If not, we're going to move into new business. And again, what you'll see in new business, there's a number of things, and I think we have others that we emailed to you as far as part of the package. The first item is obviously the income tax revenue report. When you look at that for January, you can see we are ahead of schedule from the standpoint of where we would expect. But again, too, sometimes that may be relative to timing as it relates specifically to payroll. So again, I think we'll have a truer picture probably after the first quarter in regards to as far as where we're going to be standing for this year. But obviously, thus far, it's positive to see that obviously we've collected obviously in excess of what we projected for the month of January. The other items that you should have also that were provided for you this evening was the Village of Smithville's statement of cash position. Again, that's a monthly report showing obviously month to date, which is the same as year to date in this case. It shows each of our funds, shows your beginning balances, the receipts into those funds, actual receipts, shows disbursements, and then it shows the unexpended balance as well as outstanding encumbrances, and shows ending balance for every single account that the village has. Then the other two items that you receive monthly, you should have received a detailed revenue report showing revenue by category and line items that shows you in detail as far as the revenue sources and where we're tracking. And again, that would be for the month of January. And then also you should have an expense report, which is a detailed report of all expenses for the first month of the year. Again, showing each of the line items relative to expense categories. So again, it gives you a real good sense of where we are after the first month. And again, I do applaud obviously the office from the standpoint that given that here it's the 2nd of February, and we already have those available to us for this meeting, which I think obviously shows their work in getting things turned around real quickly at the end of a month. So are there any questions on those items that were given to you this evening as part of the financial report for the month of January? And again, if there aren't, that's fine. And again, moving on, are there any other items of new business that need to be brought before council this evening? Okay, if not, I'm going to move right into liaison reports, and the first one would be Scott with equipment.
Good evening. I have nothing to report for equipment.
Okay, moving on to Larry for fire.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, of course, we already took care of the police. Moving on then to Joe, if there's anything from Veterans Memorial.
No new business from Veterans Memorial. I did provide a copy of the account status letter to the rest of the group, but beyond that, nothing new.
Okay. Moving on then to Parks and Trees with Matt.
No new business for Parks and Trees for me.
Okay. Then I guess we'll go on to John with Streets and Sidewalks.
Thanks, Mayor. The mayor and I met with several engineering companies this morning. One was GDP Group and the other was Engineering Associates. Basically to get to know some different engineering firms, not only for the sidewalk projects and other projects in the future. We will also meet with the company WE Quick Cells tomorrow morning.
All right. And again, as you recall, John will be working on obviously engineering the sidewalk project, which will be then obviously installed next year. So, any questions for John? If not, move on to finance and personnel. Trish, do you have anything for us?
I just have the insurance plan is in its final stages of being looked at. It's been checked over by a couple people. I'm waiting on a couple more, and I'm going to send that to you guys hopefully by Friday or by this weekend, and we'll have it ready for the next council meeting for approval. So be looking for that. It's quite hefty, so that's it.
Right. Thank you, Tricia. Then moving on, the only things I would have under mayor's report, a couple things. Or actually it would have been Pam, Becky, and myself did meet with a representative from SSI in relationships to setting up access for our customers relative to their utility bills. Again, through this, what we're looking at is being able to provide people access to actual bills. They'll have a 24-month history they'll be able to access. And also there'll be obviously a number of options for payment forms. Part of it is obviously with the issue with mail and some of the other things we're having. It just makes sense now to move forward with it. One of the things we were looking at, they did get to us numbers after that meeting. I think with BPA and then also after the discussions with the individual, I think we're going to be going to basically a model that we will absorb costs versus having a fee-based schedule. Part of it is on fee-based schedule. Obviously, they have to, by law, have a fixed rate. The fixed rate, I think, was probably going to be higher than obviously what it will be under the absorbed rate. Again, it's going to be set up such that basically we'll pay the direct cost of the processing plus an additional fee that will be added to, obviously, to that amount. That would obviously pay for the two companies involved as far as providing the services for obviously online access as well as the payment forms. And again, too, I think it's going to be a vast improvement from the standpoint of the options people will have. I think that, we're going to try to push involvement from individuals. And again, one of the things in doing it this route, we believe that participation will be higher by residents. And again, too, our belief is that, in some instances, it probably will help us as far as on our past due collectibles, because it will give folks other, obviously, alternatives in which to make their payments to us. One of the things that, I think that I'd shared before, obviously in the interim, we have established the BPA approved, obviously waiving of fees when we can determine that it's no fault of the customer that the payment was received late. And I know Becky made those adjustments because they had tracked that and kept track of those things. And they had a report for, those adjustments we've made thus far. But we continue to see the issue of payments being received much after the length of time that they'd been mailed. So again, we hope to move forward with that as well. So that's one of the things we're working on. The other thing that we also had a meeting would have been Becky, myself, and Mike. Obviously, the sign out front of Village Hall is something that we had intended on replacing. It is starting to rot. But in looking at it, we looked at an electronic sign, particularly with the pandemic. We could have used something that would be able to communicate messages to the community, particularly directing them to our website. After meeting with that company, I think that, that is something that we're going to move forward with them. And again, too, like I say, there's a lot of ways that we can utilize it, I think, for the benefit of the village, whether it be used for park activities, other things that are happening. The one thing that, since Trish has wrapped up the insurance, obviously pandemic policy so well, I think the one thing that we may need to look at a little bit more is a policy relative to use of this sign as it relates to other community functions. I think that once we have the sign, I think it's going to become obviously probably something that people will seek for us to consider utilizing for the purpose of promoting their organization's activities. But I think it would be wise for us to have something in place that would give the parameters that, that we would make, the decision on that with. So I'm just throwing that out to you, to Trish, since you're done with one thing, you can start on another. But again, those are basically the things that I'm aware of. At the sewer plant, the last meeting, I think I shared with you folks, we had problem with breaker, and as a result had no power. They were able to restore and obviously correct that problem, but basically to the tune of about $1,300. So every time we have an electrical issue there with that main panel, continues to cost us money. With that in mind, I'm going to be working with Tom Abraham from AgriSludge and trying to get some numbers together, and with his assistance, hopefully see if there are any opportunities for funding that may be available. He felt as though he had some ideas and some basically directions that we could go on that. So again, that's something we'll be working on as well. So. Are there any questions for myself? All right, if there's no questions for me, we'll move on into reading of the bills and orders. And you should have had two. There's bills to be approved, the first list, and there's a secondary list as well. And I guess what I would do is entertain a motion and a second to pay the bills as presented.
Motion to pay the bills in the amount of $53,824.36.
Second,
Okay, we motion second to pay bills. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, roll call.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Peischer,
Yes.
Mullins,
yes.
Okay. Again, you'll see future meetings. BPA meeting is February 8th, next week. And then our next council meeting will be February 16th. The only thing would be, before we adjourn, if Pam, if you'd have, when it's convenient, if you give me a call, I just wanted to discuss something with you, if you would, please. And I would now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Thorne.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, well, thanks, everybody. And Jason, I may have something for you if you hang on just a second after the others.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Night.
Have a good night.